Hi, I'm Mark Pickup, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Steven Croston, the founder and owner of Mastercraft Kitchens, a remarkable success story that began back in 1989 from a small industrial unit in Birchwood, Warrington,
So,
and has since evolved into a leading national bespoke kitchen company catering to customers across the United Kingdom. Stephen has supplied and installed thousands of kitchens across the UK, from Inverness in Scotland all the way down to Plymouth on the south coast, Brighton in England, and everywhere in between. Your company's become a bit of a market leader, I'd say, really, in a very highly competitive industry. And how this has been achieved is quite remarkable. You haven't run a kitchen showroom since 2005. And it's all been done predominantly through your website and online marketing.
right.
So what is it about Mastercraft Kitchens that has made it such a success story, Steve?
It's got to be the fact that we do an all-inclusive service, Mark. Everything we do is made to measure. It's manufactured in our own factory. The cabinets are rigid built. They actually come out as proper solid pieces of furniture. They're not flat pack boxes
Right, okay.
that people get.
Yeah.
And people like that.
Yeah.
We also do the whole job. We don't just fit the kitchen. We do the design stage. We do the planning. We get involved with structural work. We knock walls down. We plaster. We do wiring. We do lighting.
Right.
We even do flooring.
Okay.
In fact, there's only two things we don't do.
What's that?
We don't do the skip.
Okay.
We don't supply the skip. Do you know why we don't supply the skip?
Go on.
Well, the reason we don't supply the skip is we used to, and what used to happen, we used to get the skip delivered on a Friday night, and on a Monday morning, the skip's full.
Of course.
So the customer can buy their own skip.
Neighbours walking past.
Yeah, anything like that. If the customer gets it, they can do what they want with it, because they usually fill it up with stuff out of the kitchen.
Of course.
So that's the only thing we don't do anymore. The other thing we don't do is painting and decorating.
Right.
I wouldn't ask any of our fitters to paint and decorate. They're not good at it.
Fair enough. So as a bespoke kitchen supplier, what common misconceptions do customers have about that term bespoke?
Well, a lot of people think of bespoke and they think of expensive. So that's not necessarily the case with us. Every single unit doesn't have to be a bespoke size. We start with standard sizes, 500, 600 mil,
Right.
7, 8, 9. We do bespoke units really at the end of a run where it's difficult to fit a standard size cupboard in. We can do bespoke heights right up to the ceiling. So if you want your kitchen cupboards right to the ceiling, you're not going to get that at Wren, or you're not going to get it anywhere else.
Fine.
We can make that unit bespoke right to the top, but it doesn't have to be every unit. If it was every unit, then yes, it's going to be really expensive. But we try to mitigate that by doing a few standard units in the design as well.
So speaking about the design, tell me about the actual design process. How does that work?
Well, obviously we don't have showrooms anymore.
Right.
So yeah, how does that work? So the way it would work is we'd go out to the customer, we'd visit them at home, and we usually spend about an hour and a half sitting down with the client, having a cup of coffee, and we'll make a list of what they're really wanting. Sometimes they don't even know what they want.
Right.
You often get that. And sometimes the husband and the wife are arguing
About it. I've been in that position.
So they can be arguing about that. So it's a question of sitting down, finding out what they want, making a list, measuring up. And what we do then is we take all that information back to the design studio. And we've got our own bespoke software where we plan out in 3D. We do 3D visualizations.
Yep.
What we'll do then is we'll make another appointment. By that time, we've got sample doors put together, sample worktops put together, handles, that type of thing. We'll go back with that. It's like a bit of like a mood board. We take a mood board back with us, and then we'll show them the design. They can actually physically hold up an iPad, and they can visually look through it, and they can see the kitchen come to life.
I see.
So it's a really good system. It works well.
Sounds good. So what practical advice and tips can you offer people when choosing the style of their new kitchen?
Well, the best tip I can give really is don't put a white high gloss kitchen in an old Victorian or Edwardian house. It doesn't go.
Cool.
And vice versa, you wouldn't put an in-frame, really old-fashioned looking kitchen in a modern penthouse in Liverpool somewhere.
Right, yeah.
So obviously that's the first tip. The second tip is to choose something that obviously would go with the surroundings, that type of thing.
Okay. So what about budgeting tips as well? How can customers get the best value for money?
The best way to budget for a kitchen is to firstly, you need to make a list. You need to make a list of what you want in the kitchen. And when I say what you want, there's two types of lists really. There's the must-haves that you need in the kitchen.
Essentials.
All the essential stuff, ovens, your hob, your cupboards, obviously. But then you've also got that extra list, which is things like hot water boiling taps, the want-to-haves.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got a budget 20% over. There's always going to be something going wrong.
Right.
Imagine taking the kitchen out and you've got damp at the back of the wall.
Of course.
So there's always going to be something going wrong. So you've got to allow for that in the budget as well.
Mm-hmm.
A Mastercraft kitchen, it's not the cheapest kitchen, and because we don't do the cheapest service, it's an all-inclusive service. Nice. So you've got a fairly decent budget, but we're certainly nowhere near as expensive as some of the top end ones, and that's because we're online.
Right. Okay. What special skills are involved in the making and installing of a Mastercraft kitchen?
Well, it starts out really with the design stage. So because our kitchens are bespoke and they're made to measure, you've got to be really skilled at designing to begin with. It's not just a question of putting boxes into spaces. So everything's got to be measured. It's got to, if you've got a soil pipe in the corner, for example, our units are designed and jigs and cut to actually go over that soil pipe.
Right.
So they actually shape. They're actually shaped. So each of our kitchens are craftsman built. So it's really high quality stuff. So you've got to really be at the top of your game as a joiner, as a cabinet maker at the factory, and that follows all the way through, right from electricians to joiners, plasterers. It really is a highly skilled job, and it's not the easiest industry to be in, to be fair.
Okay, so tell me about the company's commitment to the environment then. How eco-friendly is Mastercraft Kitchens?
Very. Well, we don't run showrooms anymore, so
right.
Obviously we're not burning lights through the night, and we're not using lots of electric.
Yeah.
So we've just got the website, and we also use FSC approved products. We only buy in paints from the likes of Farrow and Ball. They're eco-friendly as well.
Right.
So we're very conscious of that. We use wood and trees and stuff like that. So we'll always make sure that if a tree's being cut down, another one's going to get planted.
Right. Okay. Understood. So as the founder and CEO running the company, you must have faced various obstacles along this journey you've been on. So what have been the main challenges?
Well, when we started the company, I always knew it was going to be a national company. And when we first started, we opened up a showroom in Formby, Merseyside, and then we opened up a second showroom about 2 years later. It's quite challenging opening showrooms because as you're opening 2 showrooms, 3 showrooms, the first showroom you opened, everything. It's all out of date.
Of course.
So that's a challenge in itself. So then you've got to start re-challenging how do you finance it. And as you're growing, you've got challenges with staff. Because of course you're always taking on new staff, and they're not, 9 times out of 10 they're really good. You can get through the interview stage with them, and you can get really good fitters and stuff like that. But there's always going to be that one. There's always that one guy that comes in and does a bad job.
Right.
And of course, that's then the challenge of mitigating that situation. We've got to get in there fast and get that change, get that sorted. But I think over the years, because we've been going nearly 30 odd years now, I think we've got a good crew behind us. So
sounds it.
Yes, it's pretty good.
So lastly now, Steve, what do you see for the future? What's the vision for the company's growth and development, would you say?
Well, obviously, being online, we are getting people coming to us from abroad. Actually, we get customers from Spain. We get customers all over the country, all over the world. To be honest with you, so we're actually looking at expanding out to Spain, to France, Ireland.
Right.
Not too far. We did get a lead yesterday from Saudi Arabia, funnily enough, but I wouldn't like to do that one. It's a bit far.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, look, it sounds very interesting, and we wish you the very best of luck for the future, Steve.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.